Before Soap aired a single episode, religious groups were already protesting it, advertisers were growing nervous, and 18 ABC stations refused to show it. One young actor stepped into one of primetime television's most controversial roles and emerged as a Hollywood legend. One beloved mother won an Emmy, then died far too young from ovarian cancer. One sharp-tongued butler escaped the chaos and built a television empire of his own. And one comic genius made America laugh before cancer ended his life. Soap looked like a comedy about two impossible families. Behind the laughter was a cultural battle, a cast marked by triumph and loss, and a show America tried to stop before it even began. When Soap premiered in 1977, American television was still built around safe families, familiar lessons, and problems that disappeared before the closing credits. Then came the Tates and the Campbells, two sisters, two households, endless affairs, murders, betrayals, kidnappings, secrets, and cliffhangers so outrageous that viewers never knew whether to laugh or gasp. Each episode mocked daytime soap operas, but beneath the absurdity, the show confronted subjects primetime television usually avoided. Soap was reckless, emotional, and impossible to predict. It was not simply a sitcom. It was television testing how far America was willing to follow and how much truth audiences could accept when it arrived disguised as comedy. Today, we are looking at the Soap cast then and now in 2026, the stars who survived the controversy, the careers that grew beyond the show, the lives cut short by illness, and the final fates behind television's most chaotic families. And there is only one place to begin, with the woman who gave the madness a heart. Katherine Helmond gave Soap something the controversy could not: a heart. As Jessica Tate, she stood at the center of a family so wealthy, confused, and emotionally unstable that almost every episode seemed one secret away from collapse. Jessica could be naive, distracted, dramatic, and completely overwhelmed by the chaos surrounding her. But Helmond never played her as foolish. She played her as human. That difference made Jessica unforgettable. While Soap pushed television into uncomfortable territory, Katherine Helmond gave viewers someone they could care about inside the madness. Jessica was betrayed, frightened, accused, humiliated, and repeatedly pulled into storylines that became more outrageous by the week. Yet, beneath the satire, Helmond found tenderness. She made Jessica's confusion funny, but she also made her pain feel real. That emotional truth helped hold the show together. After Soap, Helmond continued building a remarkable television career. She became beloved again on Who's the Boss, later appeared on Coach and Everybody Loves Raymond, and proved that Jessica Tate had never been a lucky accident. Helmond had the rare ability to make comedy feel warm without making it shallow. But her final chapter carried a sadness no sitcom could soften. Katherine Helmond died in 2019 at the age of 89. The cause was Alzheimer's disease, an illness that slowly takes memory from the people who once gave audiences so many unforgettable moments. Jessica Tate spent Soap trying to understand a family that made no sense at all. Katherine Helmond was the actress who made America care enough to keep watching. The scandal around Soap began before America had even seen it. Religious organizations condemned the series. Advertisers worried about being associated with it. 18 ABC stations initially refused to air the premiere, while others pushed the show into later time slots, hoping fewer viewers would notice what television was suddenly willing to discuss. The problem was not one scene or one joke. It was everything Soap represented. The series treated adultery, sexuality, impotence, murder, mental illness, and family dysfunction as subjects that could exist inside prime-time comedy. For audiences used to safer sitcom families, that felt like a line had been crossed. And at the center of the controversy stood a young Billy Crystal as Jody Dallas. Jody was one of primetime television's earliest openly gay major characters. That alone made the role historic, but it also placed Crystal inside a cultural argument much larger than any actor beginning his career should have been expected to carry. Conservative groups objected to Jody's existence. Some LGBTQ advocates criticized the way certain storylines relied on stereotypes or confusion. The character was groundbreaking, imperfect, vulnerable, and controversial all at once. That contradiction became the story of soap itself. The show was attacked for going too far, yet it was also criticized for not going far enough. It made mistakes, but it forced American television to speak about people and subjects that had often been kept invisible. And the backlash created something ABC had not expected: curiosity. Viewers tuned in to see the show they had been warned about. The scandal that threatened to bury soap also made it impossible to ignore. Soap was called dangerous before America knew whether it was funny. Once viewers finally watched, many discovered that beneath the controversy was something even more unsettling: a comedy with real compassion. Cathryn Damon gave soap something its wildest storylines could never create on their own: emotional gravity. As Mary Campbell, the younger sister of Jessica Tate, Damon represented the more ordinary half of the show's two impossible families. Mary was surrounded by betrayal, confusion, murder, strange secrets, and disasters that seemed to multiply every week. But beneath the absurdity, she remained recognizably human, a mother trying to keep her family together while everything around her refused to stay stable. That was Damon's gift. She could make audiences laugh at the chaos without allowing them to forget the pain underneath it. Mary Campbell was often exhausted, frustrated, and wounded, but Damon played her with enough honesty that even the most ridiculous situations carried emotional weight. Her performance earned her an Emmy in 1980, confirming what viewers already understood. Cathryn Damon was not simply reacting to the madness. She was one of the reasons the madness mattered. After soap, she continued working, most notably appearing as Cassie Parker on Webster. But behind the scenes, her life entered a chapter far more serious than anything television had written for her. Damon was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She continued working through her illness, but on May 4th, 1987, she died at the age of 56. There was no comic misunderstanding, no last-minute reversal, no cliffhanger promising she might return next season. Mary Campbell survived years of impossible television chaos. Cathryn Damon's real final chapter came far too soon, taking one of soap's most grounded and compassionate voices with her. And after that loss, the story turns toward the young actor who survived the show's greatest controversy and transformed it into an extraordinary Hollywood career. If Cathryn Damon's story stayed with you, leave her name in the comments and tell us which soap character you remember most. And stay with us, because the next young actor stepped directly into the controversy surrounding the show, carried one of television's riskiest roles, and turned that difficult beginning into one of Hollywood's longest and most successful careers. Billy Crystal was still a young actor when soap placed him at the center of a national argument. As Jody Dallas, he played one of primetime television's earliest openly gay major characters. The role was risky, controversial, and far more emotionally complicated than the headlines suggested. Jody was not simply written as a joke. He was vulnerable, searching, sometimes confused, and often forced to carry the fears and misunderstandings of an entire era. Crystal had to make audiences laugh without making Jody feel disposable. That challenge revealed something important about him. He could handle comedy, discomfort, tenderness, and pain in the same scene. The controversy surrounding Jody might have trapped a less adaptable performer. Instead, Crystal used it as a beginning. After Soap, he moved through stand-up, Saturday Night Live, major films, Broadway, and the Academy Awards stage, becoming one of the most recognizable entertainers of his generation. His career did not erase the debate around Jody Dallas. By modern standards, some storylines feel dated, awkward, or shaped by the limits of 1970s television. But the character still opened a door that prime time had rarely allowed anyone to walk through before. That is the lasting contradiction of Billy Crystal's first major role. It was imperfect because television was still learning how to tell the story. It was important because someone finally tried. Jody Dallas placed Billy Crystal inside one of television's most dangerous conversations. Billy Crystal turned that difficult beginning into a career that lasted far beyond the scandal. But not every Soap cast member chased the same kind of spotlight. For several of them, life after the show meant discovering that success could happen far from the center of the screen. For Jennifer Salt, Ted Wass, and Diana Canova, life after Soap did not follow the same bright path as Billy Crystal's. But that did not mean they disappeared. Jennifer Salt played Eunice Tate, the troubled daughter caught inside the wealth, secrets, and emotional confusion of the Tate family. After acting, she gradually moved behind the camera, building a second career as a television writer and producer. Her story became less about staying visible and more about shaping stories from a place the audience could not see. Ted Wass, who played Danny Dallas, followed a similar path. On Soap, Danny was impulsive, emotional, and constantly pulled into the show's chaos. Later, Wass stepped away from acting and became a prolific television director, guiding episodes of successful comedies and dramas for years. Diana Canova, remembered as Corinne Tate, continued performing while also exploring directing, teaching, and music. Her career was quieter than the fame surrounding Soap, but it was not smaller. It simply took a different shape. That is one of the truths Hollywood rarely celebrates. Not every successful life after fame comes with another iconic role. Some actors survive by leaving the spotlight before it defines them completely. Some discover that the most meaningful work happens behind the camera, in classrooms, rehearsal rooms, or ordinary lives far from headlines. Soap made Jennifer Salt, Ted Wass, and Diana Canova recognizable. Life after Soap gave them the freedom to decide what recognition was worth. Robert Guillaume entered Soap as a supporting player. He left as one of its greatest success stories. As Benson Dubois, the sharp-tongued butler inside the Tate household, Guillaume often seemed to be the only person who understood how absurd everyone around him truly was. While the family lied, argued, betrayed one another, and drifted deeper into chaos, Benson watched with intelligence, patience, and a look that could deliver an entire joke before he said a word. He was hired to serve the family, but Benson quickly became the person audiences trusted most. Robert Guillaume gave the character dignity without taking away his humor. Benson was never simply the servant cleaning up after wealthy people. He was smarter than nearly everyone in the room, fully aware of his value, and unwilling to pretend otherwise. Viewers loved him so much that Benson escaped Soap entirely. The character received his own spin-off, Benson, transforming Guillaume from a memorable supporting actor into a leading television star. The series ran for years, earned him another Emmy, and proved that a character introduced at the edge of one story could become the center of another. Guillaume continued working across television, theater, and voice acting, bringing authority and warmth to every role. But his final years carried a private battle with prostate cancer. He died in 2017 at the age of 89. Benson entered Soap as the man expected to clean up everyone else's mess. Robert Guillaume left as the actor who rose above the chaos, built a legacy of his own, and became far bigger than the role that first opened the door. Several other soap cast members helped turn the series into something television had never seen before. Richard Mulligan brought fearless comic energy to Burt Campbell, a man who could survive murder plots, alien encounters, and emotional collapse without ever losing the audience's affection. After Soap, Mulligan found another major success on Empty Nest. He died in 2000 at the age of 67, following a battle with cancer. Robert Mandan played Chester Tate, Jessica's unfaithful husband, with enough charm to make a deeply flawed man endlessly watchable. He continued working for decades before dying in 2018 at the age of 86. Jay Johnson made Chuck and his ventriloquist dummy Bob one of the strangest and most memorable acts on the show. Alongside Jimmy Baio, Inga Swenson, Roscoe Lee Brown, and many others, they proved that Soap's chaos worked because every performer treated the madness as if it truly mattered. By 2026, the families of Soap no longer look the way they did when America first entered their impossible lives. Katherine Helmond died in 2019 at 89 after complications from Alzheimer's disease. Cathryn Damon died in 1987 at only 56 from ovarian cancer, leaving behind one of the show's most grounded performances. Richard Mulligan died in 2000 at 67 after battling cancer. Robert Guillaume died in 2017 at 89 following complications from prostate cancer. Robert Mandan, the endlessly unfaithful Chester Tate, died in 2018 at 86. But other members of the cast carried Soap into new chapters. Billy Crystal survived the controversy surrounding Jodi Dallas and became one of Hollywood's most enduring entertainers. Jennifer Salt found success behind the camera. Ted Wass built a long directing career. Diana Canova continued performing, teaching, and creating beyond the role that first made her recognizable. The sitcom America Tried to Stop did more than survive. It launched careers, challenged the limits of primetime television, and forced audiences to laugh at subjects they had been taught not to discuss. Some cast members became legends. Some found quieter lives. Some left far too soon. But together, they proved that the controversy surrounding Soap was never its final story. On screen, the Tates and the Campbells are still trapped inside the same beautiful chaos. Jessica is still trying to understand what went wrong. Mary is still holding her family together. Bert is still panicking. Benson is still the smartest person in the room. And Jodi is still standing inside a conversation television had barely learned how to begin. But outside the frame, time moved on. Some cast members became legends. Some built quieter lives. Some found success behind the camera. And some left the world far too soon. Soap was once called dangerous, offensive, and impossible to air. Decades later, it looks less like a show that went too far, and more like one that arrived too early. Which Soap cast member stayed with you the most? And was Soap truly offensive, or simply years ahead of America?